Hello and welcome to the AVT Full Sail Show Pro Graduate Alumni Panel. Thank you for joining us today. We're joined by three grads, Show Pro grads. We have Maya Jones, class of 2020,
Hi.
Ben Broman, class of 2013, and joining us via Zoom from San Diego, California, Jeff Flynn, class of 2012. Thank you all for joining us.
Hello.
Of course. Thanks for having us.
So appreciate you spending your time, giving your time back to our current students and their lab and getting some experience, some real life experience. This is life in 2022. We have people in person. We have people on Zoom joining from all over the world. So great experience for our students here.
Yeah.
Maya, I'll start with you. You're our most recent grad. You graduated during COVID.
I did.
Certainly an interesting time for all of us.
Yes.
Before we get to that, tell us a little bit about your background, what interested you, what brought you into Show Pro.
Well, I was a military kid, and so like I bounced around, traveled a lot all the time, and so like I don't know, I've always just knew that I wanted to be in the music industry. I just didn't really know what I wanted to do. In 2014, I saw this trailer for EDC New York 2014, and I was like, that, whatever that is, that's what I got to do. I want to be a part of that somehow, some way. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to DJ. So I came to Full Sail to do music production so I could learn how to produce my own beats and stuff. But I couldn't stand Sibelius and all those music theory apps that they had us using. So I switched to Show Pro, and it's been fantastic ever since.
Awesome. You know, that's not an unusual story, especially in Show Pro. We get a lot of transfers in, and certainly for so many people, it's whether it be a concert, a video, something that kind of sparks that interest or says,
yeah,
that's what I want to do.
Because I've always liked EDM music and like electronic, like weird, funky beats and stuff. So it's like, I don't know, there was a whole community built around it, and like the love and the plur and like the chain or the bracelets. I was like, this whole thing is just my jam. So I was like, I want to be a part of it, and I am.
More than an observer, you want to be a participant in making that.
Fully immersed. So
very good.
Now I've been on all sides of a music festival more than, I don't know, tons of times.
Okay, we'll get to that. I haven't heard your story. I didn't want to. I didn't want to spill the beans pre-show, but I know you have some great experience that we'll talk about. And Ben, what's your story? What's your background? What brought you to Full Sail?
So originally, I grew up in Michigan. I was originally wanted to come down, do audio, looking at doing film, video games, and again, doing some hands-on at my church up in Michigan, live sound. Like, okay, when I kind of transitioned into the live sound of things. So my course student advisor was like, have you checked out show production? This is when it was still the associates program. Like, like, no, I haven't. So came down to the tour, behind the scenes tour. It's like, do both. Like, that's when like the big finale was at Live One before the venue was even built. Wasn't even a concept at the time. It's like, so I checked out live's where I want to go. And then get into a little bit here, how I transitioned from an audio interest to a lighting interest.
I always find that interesting. I teach sports broadcast production, which is month 18 out of 20, if you're on the standard bachelor's track. And it's interesting how often so many students come in with a singular focus. The more they're exposed, their interests change, it expands. So that's always good to hear.
Yeah.
That's why you're here to learn, right? Jeff, live from San Diego. Tell us about your background.
Sure. So I came from the United States Navy. I was in for about 8 years. And after I got out, I wanted to get into music production. Specifically, I thought I wanted to be a tour manager, manage all the logistics and all the fine stuff in there. It turns out that I was more interested in video production, specifically cameras. And that's what took me down my current track and led me to where I am now. So if you can, or if you want, I can expand further down that.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you've done a lot based on our some of our chat over the past week, Interesting career path.
Yeah.
Was there one particular class or an experience at Full Sail, or just kind of opened up your eyes in general?
The whole thing just kind of broadened my horizons. At first I had a really narrow scope. I had a very definitive path I wanted to go down, and just seeing the different types of people that were coming from all over, from different perspectives, and saying, oh, I came in and I wanted to do this, but now I really think I want to do that. And of course that changed for me like 3 or 4 times throughout my education. Yet there was a video technology class that just really opened my eyes, and just like the engineer in me, it just lit all the fires, lit all the synapses. I'm like, oh man, you can get deep down into the details and tweak almost anything about an image. And that's what really fascinated me, the same way that audio fascinates audio engineers. They can just get down to the consonant, to the vowel, and tweak everything. And for me, it was just video. I just liked projectionists. I just kind of, everything about video just, got me going. So
I like that, the consonant and the vowels. I haven't heard it put that way,
I like
but
that too.
yes, you speak the Full Sail language. So you had this interest. Jeff, continuing with you, did you have to convince your family or significant other about this kind of unconventional career path, this school called Full Sail, kind of unusual name?
By the time I actually got to the point where I was going to go into any higher education, I'd already transitioned out of the military, and I was like 28 years old. So I really, just kind of me and my dog and my motorcycle, about all I owned. And so I just kind of just looked online and just applied online and put my GI Bill down, like, yep, I'm going to try it, see what happens, for better or worse.
Right. Okay. Very good. Maya, how about you? Did you have anyone to convince?
Well, not really. My mom, once I told her what I wanted to do, she's actually the one who sent me Full Sail, and it was the only school I applied to, because it just was unconventional. I knew I didn't want to do something that was, I don't know, just in the box. And my boyfriend actually went to Full Sail too, and he's an audio engineer, so he already gets the life, he gets the lifestyle, so it wasn't really hard to convince him. It was just like, okay, good, I'm gonna be with someone who gets it.
Yeah,
So
that's
it was
important.
nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Ben, how about you?
Actually, my sister was the one that discovered Full Sail.
Really?
She came here in the mid 2000s for computer animation, and now she's a lab instructor for over at computer animation.
Okay.
So I already had family down here. So with that, it was pretty easy to convince my parents, allow me to come down here. So pretty much a week after I graduated high school, I moved down here.
Really? Okay. Wow. That's interesting.
My sister also went to Full Sail. I totally forgot to mention that. My
Wow.
stepsister, she came down here also but she was already down here, so I was like, sick.
Yeah.
That makes it better.
That's
I know
so
somebody.
interesting.
Yeah, I was actually the only school I applied to as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
oh, this is cool.
Found where you belong.
Colorful.
Right.
My vibe.
All right. So let's get to probably what most interesting, I guess, or what I find most interesting is what everyone is doing now. So Maya, we'll start with you. Tell us about your life after graduation.
Well, because I graduated during COVID, and so it took a while for me to like get out into it, and I was like kind of nervous. I was like, dang, like I graduated around the time that everything's shutting down. Like I don't know if I'm gonna be able to like live and do my career. Like, are we gonna have concerts again? Like, what's the future gonna look like? I was just like, dang, man, like it was giving me so much anxiety. But I just got a job like working at Checkers and just trying to just keep my hopes up. And then I started working for this company, James Thomas, shout out. And like they do all the festivals all over the country. And so now I just I run with them, and we do all different types of festivals, all different states. And I told them I have a focus in lighting, so they put me with the lighting text every single time. I've started climbing and rigging a little bit, and that's been super interesting. And now I'm getting looked at for like project manager positions and stuff. So I'm just working my way up the ladder, hopefully getting behind the console here soon. There's a couple companies I'm looking at that I can try to hopefully go on tour with in this next year and actually be a lighting tech and like travel and like, get more programming experience because I'm a lighting, I don't know if I ever mentioned that, but that's what I do. And so
That's why you have the bright shirt, right?
that's because it's
colors,
like,
yeah.
It just makes sense. But
go ahead and name drop some festivals and what some work we might be familiar with.
Okay, well, my most recent one was Electric Forest out in Michigan. I know you guys are from Michigan, so I don't know if you heard of it, but it's pretty sick out there in Sherwood Forest. I just got back from there not too long ago, and I did Okeechobee this year. That was awesome because it was on my birthday, and I saw 2 Feet live. If you've never known 2 Feet, don't know who that is, listen to 2 Feet. So sick. It was awesome. I did EDC Las Vegas. That was probably the biggest festival I've done so far. I did Lovers and Friends this year too, and that one was like really big because this was like the first year where they did it, and like all the OGs were there, like Neo and Lil Kim and Snoop Dogg was there. I thought that was so cool. I was like, yo, it's Snoop. Like, what?
That's when you've arrived, right?
I was like, man, I'm in this. Like, it was so dope. So yeah, that's just a few different festivals I've done. Oh, Rolling Loud, that's my next one.
Oh.
And this is my second year doing Rolling Loud.
Okay.
Last year was awesome.
That's coming up?
Yeah.
Soon, right? In Miami?
Yeah.
All right.
June 23rd. So I'm leaving on the 14th, heading down there.
Awesome.
We're going to start that.
All right, Ben, tell us what you're doing these days.
Working out at Disney here in Orlando. When I first got out of Full Sail was about a little over a year before I was actually able to get into the tech department. So when I first graduated, I was doing freelance AV, a company called Crew Call here in Orlando, and then working with C Orlando for Lake Eola Park on the entertainment production team there. So I was doing stuff at the amphitheater there and like the movie in the park. So that was pretty fun because like one time it was downpouring rain. You had a bunch of water just pounding on the projection screen. You push on it and you just see nothing. But it came up, man, it's clear up. We had to have the movie that night. And then about a year after I graduate, get reached out by one of the entertainment managers over there, like, hey, I want to give you a trial opportunity to work in Showsport, which is each park has their own warehouse that supports the stages and events. Like, I'm going to give you a 45-day trial. 50 days later, like, okay, it's day 50. Obviously, you're not going anywhere. Keep up the good work. The guys all like you around here. And then I'm slowly transitioning into doing more pyro and effects type thing rather than lighting, what I was focusing on at school. Still do lighting from time to time, but more or less it's mostly pyro and effects type sort of gigs now.
We don't teach that yet at Full Sail, but maybe one day soon we'll have a pyro class. I mean, the fire department's right there, right?
All you need is a sign off.
I'd come back and audit that.
Right?
Yeah, that'd be a good way to get some people back. Jeff, tell us about your experiences after you graduated.
Sure. So I got some hands-on experience doing live field productions locally with a local company called Complete Production Resources. They were, nice enough. I convinced them to take a dumb guy like me on that didn't know anything about anything and like help build staging and, fly arrays and all that stuff. But then I decided I wanted to move back to San Diego after I graduated. I got a lot of friends and stuff here that I'd made over the years. And when I got back, I started doing live productions in the same vein, mostly corporate live, like ballrooms and things like that, which was okay. And it taught me a lot about lighting and video, but it didn't really ignite that passion in me on a day-to-day basis. So I started putting my resume out, and I got a call from a local Fox TV station, Fox 5 in San Diego. And they were nice enough to take me on as a video engineer. And I just kind of helped them set up the robotic cameras, help program all that stuff. And then that's what really got me going into the studio-based live productions and get out of the field. It has its pros and cons. The pros are that it's air-conditioned and it's nice. And, you don't have to really tear everything down to set it up the next day. There's not a lot of striking. the downside is that there's not a lot of striking. You don't get to constantly reset everything up, blanket out the board, wipe the lighting board, and start over from scratch and rebuild it and relearn all that muscle memory. So there's a pros and cons there. And when I was at Fox 5, I got introduced to live streaming at the macro level, at the production scale level of a national television network. And, I just kind of fell into one thing to the next. I learned how to tune satellite systems. I learned how to work on electronic news gathering trucks. I learned how to do all that kind of stuff. And that led me down the live streaming path. And then I worked for a company called QuickPlay that got bought by AT&T that did video distribution on a global level. We distributed to Canada, to Puerto Rico, Thailand. Basically, if you had like a live feed you needed distributed across the world, we were your one-stop shop. We would import it, transcode it, all that stuff, make sure it's applicable for, phones, tablets, laptops, TVs, you name it. And then that led me to AT&T, and then they put me on the DirecTV unit where I helped, build out their streaming platform because they were only a satellite company before. And there was a small cadre of us down here in San Diego that worked for that local company here called QuickPlay that knew how to do, content distribution at that level and encode at that scale. And so we helped to build out their whole streaming service. So the product DirecTV Stream that you hear about, we built that here in San Diego, and I was on that team. So it was just kind of one thing to the next that kind of built on skills, and I just saw opportunities and took advantage. And, now I'm an internal product owner and system engineer at DirecTV. So my day-to-day is I handle their data analytics for streaming. So all the devices on all the different app versions come in. I help the executives parse that information, make sense of it, and see, is there a bug in the app crashes, or is there a specific device that's like streaming weird and there's boxing things out, or, just kind of stuff like that the executives don't know about. And so that's kind of my day-to-day now, is I just kind of keep the ship from sinking and plug the holes as I see them for DirecTV. Yeah.
Well, that's quite an amazing career arc. I mean, my first job out of college was at the local Fox station in Miami, and I can testify what a great learning environment that is. The opportunities there to learn, and they do so much live production, so much news that they need people, they need bodies. So there's a lot of
They do.
opportunity there. Um,
There is.
Ben, I'll start with you on this one. How often do you run across or work with other Full Sail grads?
It goes from time to time. Like sometimes I'll see a few, and other times I'll hardly see any.
Yeah.
And, like I know some that moved over to the cruise line. So like the ones that moved over to the cruise line is now its own department because it's expanding the fleet so much
Right.
that I rarely ever see them. Like
Okay.
Pierre Bassan, who is a fellow grad, he recently just got back with the Wish that just launched. So
Their new ship.
doing lighting design for them.
Right. And Maya, you're all over the country, these festivals. How often do you run into Full Sail grads?
Yeah, I run into Full Sail grads all the time. A lot of the time, the grads that I run into graduated like around the time that you did, like 2013, 14, 15, around that time. And like, it's just cool always having them being able to like give a little bit of wisdom or knowledge, or just being like, hey, we went to the same school. I was actually, I was at Ultra this year, and I was on the pyro team, actually. And I met this guy named Kurt, and he told me that he went to Full Sail too. And I was like, how awesome is that? Like, what's up? I thought that was so cool.
That is.
Often, though.
Definitely
very
great.
often.
I'd imagine, especially traveling around, that's exciting.
Yeah, some people, they'll say that they went for audio. Not everyone even came for show pro, but like, I don't know, the world out there, the industry is just so accessible. You could fall into anything.
Right.
So.
Yeah, Jeff, your experience, you moved across the country and certainly took a different career track. How often do you run into Full Sail grads?
Earlier in my career, I ran into them all the time when I was still doing live productions. In fact, one of the guys who I went to school with, he also lives in San Diego now, and we're really good friends. We hang out all the time. So just kind of it's a small world. In the beginning, I ran across them because I used to have to go up to Los Angeles to do gigs when I was working in a production company. And there was, of course, it's a big mecca up there for Full Sail grads. So I ran into, half a dozen all the time. But lately, not so much. Now I've kind of found my niche and I've kind of moved into a different area.
Right. Just a couple more questions. As a course director here, as a teacher, I'm curious. I always want to know this about my students. Is there a moment, I'll start with you, Maya, when you were out in the field, when you were working on something and the light bulb went off, you're like, I remember learning this, or this is why, like, I didn't think this would ever be relevant, but here it is.
Yes. Omar's cable wrapping class. I'm telling you, because it's like you get those new people on the gig and they start doing and you're like, okay, baby, let me show you, like, throw it out and wrap it, and so I feel like there was that moment. Pipe and drape when I had corporate gigs, and I'm like, oh, okay, I've done the pipe and drape before. Even just like saying that I know the MA makes me feel good, because I'm just like, oh yeah, I was back when I was four, so, and
these are real things.
Even your broadcasting class, I learned a lot from there because I got a job working at this venue. And they needed me to run the switcher, and so I was kind of VJing, and so it's like knowing how to like call shots, and my experience as technical director a couple times like really helped me excel in those positions. And so yeah, I feel like, I don't know, the stuff that you think is just classes or just labs or whatever is like so for real, and it's so crazy when you get out there and you're just like, yo, like, everyone talks about, oh, I never use these math equations in real life, but it's like everything that I've learned here, I've used on the road for sure. For sure.
Love to hear that. We're going to clip that off and just put that all over the internet.
For sure.
Jeff, how about you? Especially early in your career, I'm sure a moment where something came back from class.
Well, oh my gosh, so many times, especially the cable wrapping thing. Oh, God, just nails on chalkboards, watching people just cram them together. It's like stuff them in a box. Oh, it makes you want to just choke. Now, one of the big things, actually, I was on a big production in the field, and we were doing, multiple line arrays for a large area, and just all that math came clicking back, talking about, logarithms and all that stuff. I'm just like, oh yeah, this isn't too complicated. You just do the math and you understand the, the compensation difference of how to, so the audio doesn't step on itself. That was a big one. I remember one time, our robotics camera system broke when I was working at Fox. And I remember the broadcast class of just understanding cameras and how to troubleshoot them and get into the menus and dig through all that stuff. It's really super boring when you're doing it in labs and you're trying to figure out the details. But when shit's broken and like the commercial's over in 45 seconds, and your director screaming in your ear, like, make it work. It just all came clicking back, and it just gave my boss another valid reason of why. Because when I first applied for the job, he goes, Full Sail, what's that? I've never heard of Full Sail before. I'm like, oh, okay, you should do some research. It's actually a pretty great school. And it was one of the reasons he hired me, because I went to, a production focused school.
Right.
But it's just all those things just kind of came clicking back and were super useful, especially in, the broadcast world.
Awesome. Glad to hear that. Ben, any moments that stick out for you?
I guess working in Showsport, like the warehouse, is getting appreciation. Like when we were in the live lab, like, okay, well, how many cables do you need? Okay, here you go.
Right.
And then being the one to help deliver those, make sure they have them for the events. And then when you call, like, hey, we need 10 more Edison cables. Like, getting the appreciation with the instructors that we're going through, like, the annoyance, like, oh, we need 10 more XLRs. Like, fine.
Should have planned a little better.
Plan a little better.
Right.
So, like, working with some of these planners that sometimes, like, especially their first event, and then watch them kind of get more experience in their events.
Right.
Going back to, again, us getting experience in the field.
Whole new appreciation for all that. All right. Last question, your chance to brag, or Maya, your pinch me moment, your moment you said, I can't believe this is my job. I'm doing this, getting paid for this.
Man. It's so many. I feel like ACL, I had the opportunity to go see Miley Cyrus and work her set. And that's just like, I grew up with Miley, like Hannah Montana, I was all in there. So just being able to, I don't know, just be there. I got to see Tyler, the Creator. I put together his boat for Call Me If You Get Lost. And it's just like, it's just like, it's like, wow, you know, like people dream about touching this boat or like, I don't know, being so close to him. And it's like, I saw Miley Cyrus, you know, it's just like, dang, like, there was this one time, I think this was also at ACL, where this guy that I had met when I was like doing like concert gigs, he was the LD for the stage that I was working. And he let me like use the console and like practice on the rig that he had just because I had made that connection with him. Really? And so I literally got to like be in front of like one of the main stages behind the console. And I was just like, I feel good here. I feel like I could be here. Feels like this is supposed to be. So I don't know. And I was getting paid. I was like, this is awesome. This doesn't even feel like work. It just feels like a dream. You know, try not to be all gooey about it. But it's like, I don't know. When you're really passionate, it feels like a dream. It's like, dang, this is cool.
Well, that's awesome. Congratulations on your success. I can tell you're enthusiastic and love it. So,
I love it.
Keep getting out there, and we'll keep bringing you back, hearing about your next
whenever you need me back, you know, I'll be back whenever.
Yeah,
I can't see myself leaving Orlando. I keep trying.
Stick around. Ben, what was a moment for you that stuck out?
Probably last year when we reopened fireworks at Disney after being gone for about a year or so. Just hearing the music going through the park audio for the first time. And then our first cast preview before we opened to the public, aired it to the public, just hearing the cheers when that first music note hit.
Right. Kind of something you probably took for granted night after night, and now it was back. That would be rewarding. Awesome. Well, congratulations on your success.
Yeah, both me and my manager both said we got chills when we first heard that music during just the test show, not even without anyone watching, and then just hearing the cheers a couple nights later when we actually got to do it in front of people again.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I know that's that means so much to so many people, the Disney fans out there. I know some of us here were doing Hall of Fame, and we started hearing in 2020, like COVID this, COVID that, or like, it's not that bad. And then we heard Disney shut down. We're like, okay, dang, this is a real thing. This just got real.
Right.
Well, congratulations on your success. Jeff, a pinch me moment for you.
I was in A3 on a concert series here in San Diego, and I was on side stage between Incubus and Seven Dust, the bands, and I was double checking cables and all kinds of stuff on their guitars and stuff, helping the guitar techs out, making sure they interfaced well with the thing, and just being able to talk with those musicians and just the brilliance of their engineers and like really how smart those people are. Yeah. It just gave me a moment. I'm just like, damn, I can't believe they get paid to do this. This is awesome. And just looking out and seeing just a sea of, 15,000 people in the arena just screaming their asses off. I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. This is awesome.
That is cool.
A lot of gratitude in that moment.
I totally feel it.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on your success, Jeff. Also, it's a interesting career arc you have. Certainly worse places you can be than DirecTV these days with streaming and everything we have here. And
there's a lot of opportunity out there. People should know that. There's a ton of opportunity in the streaming space.
That is good to know. Yep. Yes. That's something as part of this lab we've incorporated and trying to push more and more here in show production, because clearly it's not going anywhere.
No, it's not.
Well, Jeff, thank you. Ben, thank you. Maya, thank you for joining us for our Show Pro alumni panel here. Thank you for joining us here, the AVT Full Sail Show Pro alumni panel. We'll see you next time.